Have you ever really stopped to think about what it takes to get food onto your plate? The story is so much bigger than just a farm or the ocean. It's a story that's literally reshaping our entire planet. So let's dig into what the science is telling us about the real cost of what we eat. Okay, take a look at this. This is what scientists call the Great Acceleration. Pretty clear why, right? Since around 1950, just about every measure of human activity has just shot straight up. We're talking population, GDP, fertilizer use, water consumption, you name it, the graph looks like a hockey stick. We've done some incredible things, for sure, but it's all come at a price. Our impact has been so massive, in fact, that a lot of scientists are saying we've blasted our way into a whole new geological era, the Anthropocene. It literally means the age of humans. Basically, for the first time in Earth's history, we're the single biggest force of change on the planet. But here's the thing. Our planet has limits. You can think of them like the warning lights on your car's dashboard. There are certain lines you just can't cross without risking a complete breakdown of the system. Scientists have a name for these: planetary boundaries. In this diagram here, it's kind of like a health report for the planet. That green circle in the middle, that's our safe operating space. It represents the stable conditions that have let us thrive for the last, 12,000 years or so. But you can see we're pushing way out into the red on several key things, like biodiversity loss and how we use nitrogen and phosphorus. And this is where it gets really risky. When you push a system too far, you can hit what's called a tipping point. That's when things can suddenly, and maybe even permanently, flip from that stable state we rely on to a future that's a whole lot less predictable and a whole lot less safe. So, what do you think is the biggest thing pushing us past these limits? Is it how we generate energy? All our cars and planes? All the factories? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It's our food. Yeah, the way we produce and consume food around the world is the number one reason we've crossed 5 of the 7 boundaries that are already in the red. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The very thing that keeps us alive is also what's putting our planet's stability most at risk. So let's actually break down that planetary price tag. Just how big is the footprint of our global food system? Well, the numbers, they're pretty jaw-dropping. Let's start with climate. Our food system is responsible for a full quarter of all greenhouse gas emissions. That's mainly from things like methane from livestock and nitrous oxide from fertilizers. To put that in perspective, that is more than every car, truck, plane, and ship on the planet combined. Now, what about land? It takes up half of all the habitable, ice-free land on Earth. Just try to picture that. Half of the usable land surface of our world is dedicated to feeding us. And a huge chunk of that is for raising animals and growing the crops to feed them. And water? A staggering 75% of all the fresh water we use as a species goes to agriculture, mostly to irrigate crops. So yeah, the takeaway here is that our current way of making food is just unbelievably resource hungry. And it's not just about what's happening out on the farm. As this image shows, our food system is this gigantic, tangled web. From the processing plant and the packaging to the shipping and the waste at the end, every single step has its own hidden environmental cost. All this leads us to this massive global dilemma. On one hand, we have this broken, unsustainable system. But on the other, we have this incredibly important moral duty to make sure every single person on this planet has enough to eat. Back in 2015, the whole world got together and agreed on these, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. They're basically our shared roadmap for a better future. And right up there, at goal number 2, is one of our biggest ambitions: zero hunger. But here's the rub. Here's the conflict. The goal is to feed everyone, sustainably. But the reality is, our population is heading toward nearly 10 billion people by 2050. And on top of that, the demand for resource-heavy things like meat and dairy could almost double. The math just doesn't work. And honestly, this is the really sobering part. Despite all our goals and all our promises, this speedometer shows we're actually going in the wrong direction. We are moving away from zero hunger. The number of people who are undernourished is actually going up, not down. Which leaves us staring at this giant, powerful paradox. The very system we built to end hunger is now threatening the stability of the planet we need to produce food on in the first place. So it's pretty clear we can't just keep doing what we're doing. We've got to find a new way forward. The big question is, what does a truly sustainable food system even look like? Okay, so we know the core of the problem, right? Our current setup, which is so dominated by land-based farming and livestock, just comes with environmental costs that are way too high for the planet to keep paying. So whatever we come up with next, it has to be able to do all of these things. It's got to give us great nutrition for a lot more people, but with a radically smaller footprint. And it also has to be tough enough to handle the climate shocks that are already becoming the new normal. So if our land-based systems are pushing our planet to the brink, where else can we possibly look? It raises a really fascinating and frankly urgent question. Since over 70% of our planet is covered in water, could the future of food be blue? Maybe a future that relies more on things like sustainable aquaculture, seaweed farms, and all the nutritious potential that's swimming right beneath the waves?